For number 3, we need to first check to see if there's any GCF. Okay, so if I'm looking at 36, 54, and 8, all of these are divisible by 2. Okay, there's no larger number that we can divide out of all of these. So if I divide out a 2, I get 18x squared minus 27x plus 4. All right, I'm going to have to hang on to that 2 for later, so I'll just move that over here. And then I'm going to need to factor this part by grouping. Okay, so first I need to multiply A and C. So that's 18 times 4, which gives me 72. And now I'm going to need to list out my factors of 72. Now, instead of going through every single one and then determining which one's going to work, what I'm going to keep in mind here is that I need them to add up to negative 27. So as I go, I'm going to check to see if they add up to negative 27, and then once I find it, I'm going to stop, because there are quite a few factor pairs here. Okay, so once I start listing these out, so 1 and 72, okay, that's not going to add up to negative 27. And actually, what we can do here, we don't need 2 positive factors, because that's not going to add up to give us a negative. So instead, what we want are our negative factors. So I can just start listing out all of my negative factors, and that'll save me some time and effort. Okay, so negative 1 plus negative 72, that doesn't equal negative 27. Negative 2 and let's see, negative 36. Okay, those equal negative 38 when we add them, so that doesn't work. Let's see, we can do negative 3 and negative 24. Okay, negative 3 plus negative 24 gives us negative 27, so that's what I need. Okay, I could keep listing out more factors, but it's going to be just kind of a waste of time because I already know that this one is what I need. All right, so I'm going to go down here. I'm going to keep my 18x squared and my plus 4. And now I'm going to rewrite the negative 27x using these 2 factors. Okay, so I have negative 3 and negative 24. So that's going to be negative 3x and negative 24x. Now I can factor by grouping. So I can group these 2 together. I'm going to put a little plus right here and then use parentheses. Okay, GCF of my first pair would be 3x. So that gives me, if I divide out by 3x, that gives me 6x minus 1. And then the common factor for these would be negative 4. Okay, I'm trying to get rid of this negative right here. And then that gives me 6x minus 1. Okay, we should get the same thing right here. So I'm going to now group these 2 together, 3x minus 4 and 6x minus 1. Now we're not exactly done. There was one thing that we had to remember from the beginning. Okay, we said there was this 2 up here that we had to remember. So I'm going to bring that back. So 2 times the quantity of 3x minus 4 times the quantity of 6x minus 1. Okay, again, if you want to check your work, distribute these out. So save the 2 for last. This gives us 18x squared minus 3x minus 24x plus 4. Combine our like terms. And then finally multiply out the 2. And if we did it correctly, then it should give us what we had to begin with. And it does. Last one. So 10a squared plus 87a minus 27 represents the area of a rectangular playground. So we're going to factor this out to find the length and width of the playground. So first, let's think about GCF. Is there any common factor between all three of these? No, there's not. So there's no GCF. Okay, so instead, I'm just going to have to factor by grouping. So I'm just going to copy this down over here. Okay, my first step is to multiply A and C. So that's 10 and negative 27. That multiplies, give me negative 270. Now, I want to find my factors that will multiply to give me negative 270, that will add to give me positive 87. Okay, so if I start out, okay, let's just do 1 and negative 270. Those don't add up to give me 87. So I could do negative 1 and positive 270. Well, those don't add up to give me 87. So I could keep going. I could do 2 and negative 135. Those don't add up to 87. So I can keep going. This one won't work either. So I could do 3 and negative 90. Well, those add up to negative 87, so I'm at least almost there. Okay, but what about negative 3 and positive 90? Okay, they both multiply to give us negative 270, and they add up to give us positive 87. So this is what I want to work with. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to keep the 10a squared, and I'm going to keep the minus 27. Okay, the middle term was 87a. I'm going to rewrite this using those two factors. So I have negative 3 and 90. Now, we have to pay careful attention. Okay, I would actually reorder these. So I'm going to put the 90a here and the negative 3a here. The reason for that is it's going to give us more to work with when we start looking for a GCF. Okay, so I'm going to factor each of these sets. Okay, so my GCF in my first set would be 10a. And then for my second set, I think I actually want to factor out a negative 3. So that will end up giving me the same thing in the parentheses. If I didn't do that, let me go back and show you what it would have looked like if I hadn't done that. Okay, if I had just factored out a 3, then I would get negative a minus 9. And then we wouldn't have the same thing in the parentheses. Okay, so instead, I'm going to factor out a negative 3. That way, I'll get the exact same thing in both sets of parentheses. And then finally, I regroup. So 10a minus 3 and a plus 9. Okay, and in the context of the problem, we're talking about the length and width here. So we have 10a minus 3, and what was the unit on this? Yards, and a plus 9 yards.